I was thinking about something that every once in a while I bring up. Why are the Democrats going to have to run it into the fucking ground? They did something with taxation of property in almost all their enclaves that they can't undo. They basically have sort of these fake places that they live that supposedly produce tremendous amounts of organic wealth. But anyone who has an eye for, well, let me just put it as crime. You know that a big part of what Democrats depend upon are nonprofit corporations and working for these nonprofits that supposedly facilitate something or this, that, or the other. And that requires just free money being doled out. Well, there's a lot of that in blue enclaves, to the point that there's even really a fundamental lack of real wealth generation in blue enclaves now. One of the ways that this was that I could kind of evidence this is the collapse of so much of the typist end of the economy, and the coders and all these people that are, these high-tech jobs that are suddenly vanishing. There was no products or services being made. There was just literally VC capital being pumped into these companies, and they didn't make anything. I was there for the first .com collapse, and I remember people talking about just various products and services that were supposedly going to be a big deal or something, but I couldn't figure out what they would be useful for. So I'm listening to these guys who I was sure they were really smart. They coded computers. They were doing smart job. I was doing dumb job. They were doing smart job. Now at the time, I was fundamentally putting myself kind of through Chinese medicine, like buying as many books on Chinese medicine, culture, and history as I could, in Taoism, and studying martial arts and teaching martial arts 2 to 3 times a week with my teacher. But I just didn't think that was that special, really. Other people would say, "Oh, that's really cool," but I mean, these guys had money, and I had no money, and I was like, "Dang, I wish I was smart and could code." And then I find out, like, oh well, no, they're not making anything. Now, I really had a hard time wrapping my mind around this for a very long time, until really I got red-pilled and started learning about economics and market economics, and that's how they were able to not make a product, but yet still be in business. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that there were these people called venture capital that would float you, and you could just kind of string them along and tell them how good everything was going to get and how much money everyone was going to make. And it was just going to be a matter of time, this, that, and the other. So, so I put that in. And so what it was is that there was somebody who was doing a bunch of economic analysis, and he has this really great economic analysis show on real estate. And he started pointing out all of these firms, they don't make products or services. These places are going to collapse. All of these tech firms, they're not making anything. And now we see it. Now, he was completely correct, a year ahead of time or more. It's going to get worse. It's going to get much, much worse. Yeah. And there's a number of little things that I'm like, I could swear I remember something like this. There's a Star Trek episode from The Next Generation where they go through black matter nebula, and this kid, at one point he goes, I remember before the ship was destroyed, that's what they said. They said, do this. And he thought he had destroyed the ship, but he remembers that they had attempted to right the ship this way before. So now the thing that I'll sit back and I'm like, something about this reminds me of when things fell apart before, but now it's much worse. because of now I understand enough about economic reports. I understand enough about especially things like reports on credit right now. Fundamentally, the baby boomers are having to cash out early because they have no money. 401ks are now being cashed in early in very, very, very large percentages, and that's the end. That's the end. That's it. It's over. Once that starts happening, the major financial firms that hold these 401ks are screwed. They even the penalties for taking your money out early, that's not going to matter. It's not going to save these companies. These companies had to have bit by bit the money going out. Not all in a huge amount. The water just vanishing. So the old are going to really have a hard time of it, and it's going to be women. It's going to be women who will suffer. And now it's going to be, what will our society do when they see old women starve? What will the Democrats do? Just think about that.